Hi guys! Sorry, it has been a while. It has been a long while, so sorry about that. We'll get to why and where we've been and what we've been up to. Um, because, we've been up to some stuff. We have. So yeah, we've got quite a lot to fill you in on there. But thought today would be a good day to come back in because a bit of a significant day in terms of sort of corona and all of that stuff. Because today we've just had the announcement that Newport, where we live, is going into a local lockdown. So that is a big step back in terms of where we were. So I think last time we spoke to you, we were very much sort of gearing up for being back in work. And I should explain, when I say lockdown, it's not really a lockdown. It's not. It's nothing like as strict as the initial lockdown rules were. But it basically means that people can't come into or out of the borough unless it's essential travel. That you can't mix indoors with other people anymore. But yeah, you can, like, businesses are still open. You can still go to them with appropriate sort of safety measures and stuff. So it's not like super strict. But it does affect sort of day-to-day life. Like, we're not going to be able to sort of just hang out at my mum and dad's house. We can still hang out in their garden because outside is fine. But yes, it does mean you can't come into or out of the city unless it counts as essential travel. So annoyingly, that means that my staff can come in because they're allowed to travel for work, but my customers can't because it's not essential travel. So anyone who does not live in Newport can't really book with us anymore. So existing bookings that I had in, I've just had to cancel. So that's fun. There's a lot of that sort of thing going on. So yeah, that was announced today. Now, that isn't the first of local lockdowns for Wales. I think previously when we were talking on the vlog, there had been one or two announced in various places in England, but there weren't any Welsh ones at that point. Wales was doing very well and we were very smug about it. But yeah, unfortunately, it's been creeping up in South Wales mainly. So the first place that went into local lockdown was Caerphilly. And then that was followed by Rhondda and Taff. And then today they've announced that also Newport, Merthyr Tydfil, where else has gone into it? There were 4 extra boroughs. So a bunch of us, basically. Blaenau Gwent, Merthyr Tydfil, Newport, and somewhere else. So basically everywhere around Cardiff, but not Cardiff. So we're surrounding the city and we think we can take it. So that's what's going on. So yeah, so that's a bit of a significant landmark, I think. So it seems like a good time to check in with you guys because it's been a bit of a weird one, because we kind of thought when we started the vlog that obviously there was a very distinct start to lockdown, and foolishly we sort of thought that there'd be a similarly distinct end, but it never really fully ended. No. And now it's going back into it a bit more.
It's been very kind of staggered for everyone, hasn't it, in different ways, and
different rules in England to Wales, and different rules in Scotland and Ireland, and it's all been a bit wishy-washy and quite confusing.
Even I think on one of the last ones of these we filmed, I sort of said I sort of imagined when I went back to work it would be everyone going, "Hey, we're back to work now, guys," and even that within the place where I work has been a lot more staggered of the people who were there the whole time when it was just emergency appointments, and then people who came back, a few weeks ahead of me, and then me. But by the time I came in, there were some people who had kind of been there a few weeks and they're quite blasé about it again. And so, and there's some people still to return who will come back at the end of the month. So it's all been quite a different experience.
Very staggered. And yeah, so it's been strange, but it was all sort of going in the right direction. And then sort of gradually, and I think it was fairly inevitable, the longer sort of things go on for, the more relaxed people get, and as numbers decrease, people sort of stop caring quite so much and stop being so careful, and then that leads to things creeping back up again. Newport is a bit of a frustrating lockdown just in and of itself, because most of these local lockdowns they've been able to sort of trace them to where the local outbreak sort of started. A few of them have been sort of food processing plants. One I think was a few people flying in from a certain flight, which I think was from Ibiza, and there were a couple of people on the plane that turned out to have coronavirus, so quite a few people on the plane got it. So people coming in from other countries and things. Newport, in good old Newport fashion, was traced, the initial sort of outbreak that caused the initial spike has been traced to a house party. 18 people confirmed at that house party ended up with a positive COVID test. And because of, as I've said many times, because of the nature of COVID, you get it, you've got it for a while, you're spreading it around before you know you've got it. And because it's quite a long incubation period, you can pass it on to quite a lot of people in the space of 2 weeks before you know you're infected. And then by the time that's out there, things then sort of grow exponentially before you can get a lid on it. Also, I guess it's kind of inevitable, the kind of people who are having a non-socially distanced house party at the moment, also the kinds of people who want to live it large and go off to the pub. So they also, the weekend after the house party, several guests at this house party all went to various, I don't know if that, we just got some mad flickering on the screen, but I don't know if you'll have got that or if that was just our screen. So apologies is the word for that. Apologies if you're getting some picture distortion. Hopefully that's just on our end.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about.
I don't know. The aliens are coming. But yeah, so they that weekend after this party, before any of them were symptomatic, they all went to various different pubs in Newport. So I think 9 different bars and pubs of. That's really distracting. Sorry.
Just pause that.
Yeah, we're going to just pause it in a second. I'll just finish my point. But yeah, so 9 different pubs have had staff members or customers come back with positive COVID cases. So quite a lot of places have then had to close and do full-on decontaminations and all sorts of stuff. And pubs are a place where people are gathering. So that's that's why Newport, your party town. I'm going to just pause this and hope that that stops happening. Hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. We're back. So Newport's lockdown seems to largely be due to people partying. So that's disappointing.
Well, I've been seeing in recent weeks on Facebook like an increasing sort of torrent of stupidity, really, from people, and just people saying, "Oh well, let the young people be young, let them go out and have a good time, and and if they're at uni, then they're not going to be interacting with the old people in their families, so it's fine. Never mind the old people that they might have to interact with in local shops when they then go out and get their food from the supermarket when they're hungover the next day."
Oh no, did you not know that students only talk to other students?
Only
no
interact with
interaction with
other and it's fine, young
people in the populace.
And there's been this kind of I don't know what you'd call it, but this Facebook status that people have been putting up that's been copied and pasted, and they sort of go, "Oh look, I didn't write this, but I've copied it, pasted it. What do you think?" And it starts off with, and I'm not saying that everyone who posted this is like an idiot necessarily, because a lot of them are doing it with a kind of, "I've seen this, what
seems
do you think?"
reasonable. I'm sharing it.
Well, not everyone even says that it seems reasonable, but there's a bit of playing devil's advocate for some people, or kind of going, just curious to see what opinion is. They're not necessarily agreeing with it, although if you do agree with it, you are an idiot. Well, I couldn't tell you the whole thing. It's like a sort of tirade of bullshit. But it's sort of talking about how they've had wars in the past, and they've had flu kills people, doesn't it? Like, what's the end game? We're wearing all these masks, but where does it end? We don't know when there's going to be a vaccine, and what's the end? They've had to move football games.
We just need to get back to normal now, regardless of the virus.
Yeah, and if things were kind of trailing off and the numbers were going down, you'd be like, well, okay, I guess, you could see that people going, well, it seems to be tailing off. How long are we going to keep doing these masks? But given that numbers are going back up and they're still seem to be going, well, what's the end game? Why are we still wearing masks? Well, because the numbers are going back up, and largely because of people behaving irresponsibly.
Oh, I should mention, I don't actually know what episode we're on because I've lost track entirely, but it is Monday the 21st of September.
Yes, good to derail my point with that.
No, but the reason I was saying that is because we're going into flu season and the change in seasons, which may also be affecting why the numbers are going up.
And people are saying, "Oh well, is there not a waiver I can sign to say I want a world of hugs and concerts?" And no, because that's incredibly selfish. And we've seen, isn't it? It's the people who go to house parties or go, well, we're not worried, so we're just going to go to the Doncaster races and then stop in pubs on the way back. And then you get entire areas going into lockdown again, and people's livelihoods and freedoms being kind of damaged or ruined or risked because of people selfishly wanting to have fun. And then they have examples of like, oh well, you drive on the motorway, don't you? And that's dangerous. So we wouldn't stop doing that. No, but you wear a seatbelt,
and you're not allowed to drive drunk.
And you have a speed limit, and then a couple of things down that says, and we don't always fasten our belts, and we wear, and we don't.
Well, you should.
And we break the speed limits. You go, oh, I see. No, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying this was like those things. And no, what you're saying is I always recklessly endanger the lives of others. So I don't see why this should be any fucking different.
Yeah.
And then they just go, well, there's no. You should be allergic to shellfish and
you should be allergic to shellfish.
There are people who are allergic to shellfish and strawberries and nuts and they just go on with their lives. Yeah, but those things aren't airborne. At least they're not to that degree.
Actually,
like, in fact,
we do make sort of allowances for those sorts of things. Like, for example, on planes, you can't have nuts because they go into the air conditioning, and people with nut allergies can die.
We know children who go to schools where they're not allowed to have nuts in their packed lunches because it can affect the other children. So you do take care of those around you.
Yeah, you can't absolutely protect everybody against everything all the time, but you can take reasonable public health precautions, and we always have done. That's what legislation does. That's what health and safety, which everybody pisses and moans about health and safety, but they did health and safety brought in sort of maximum work hours and maximum amount of rest between shifts and things, and basically made us a lot safer, like driving speeds and flu vaccinations for everybody and things like this. We've always legislated where possible to make people safe, and if something is too dangerous to do, we've legislated against people being allowed to do it.
Your mum made the point, didn't she? Like during the Blitz, people had to have their windows off.
Yeah, you had to black out.
And you get people going, well, I'm fine. I'm keeping my lights on.
If my house gets bombed, then so be it. Like, it's just like, you fucking dickhead. There's so many fucking dickheads. And they are gaining momentum, it seems, I think, with sort of COVID fatigue coming on and so much rise in conspiracy theory bullshit. And I'm so sick of reading about how it's a hoax. It's not a fucking hoax, guys. Don't be idiots. But yeah, also, and again, we've bitched and moaned about this enough, but a lot of people now who are, I get it, we're all sick of it. We really are. I really wish we could talk about someone else. But it is what it is. But people, first of all, are trying to deny that it's as serious as it is. Quite a lot of people say, I've had to say a couple of times in the last few days, Chris, I've got to stay out of the comments section on the internet because I just don't have the energy for these people. But yet, every time I'm like, I see something and I go, well, I can't ignore that. But it's, just people spouting lies. The big thing at the moment that people are bitching and moaning about is being anti-mask. So now they've made it mandatory that you have to wear masks in any public indoor spaces, which, to be honest, would have been a great idea in fucking April.
Yeah.
But I think mainly the problem back then was they didn't have enough PPE for everybody, and they wanted to prioritise healthcare settings. Then as sort of the numbers went down and it was good weather and people were meeting outdoors, I think it was less important. But then as they realised numbers were creeping back up, it was like, no, we need to take additional measures before we hit flu season, before we hit winter, before the weather turns. The weather turning is going to be bad because people won't mix outdoors for a start, so they will be mixing more indoors, and it seemed across the board that this likes indoors and it likes cold situations. That's why so many food processing plants, because they're kept at a refrigerated sort of ambient temperature, seem to have absolutely gone mental. There have been so many individual plants that have had to shut down because just huge spikes of sort of 30, 40 people all getting COVID all in one place. So it's a worry. So people basically trying to pretend that it's not real at all. That's, first of all, fucking insane. But then people saying it's not as serious as they're making out. Project Fear, all these dickheads. Again, why? Why would they be doing that? Like, every government across the globe, even ones at war with each other, have decided to get together and agree with each other to control what you do, Barry. Nobody cares what you do, Keith. It's fine. You just shut the fuck up, wear your mask, wash your hands and sit down. But then, like, also the people going, well, it only affects the vulnerable and the elderly. Like, the rest of us should get back to normal. First of all, that's really insulting to the vulnerable and the elderly, because
screw those guys, right?
it's like,
right.
well, do their lives not matter then? But also, it's not even true. There are multiple cases of young, fit, healthy people getting this and becoming very ill with it, nearly dying, some of them dying, but even those that have bounced back, post-COVID syndrome seems to very much be a real thing, which seems to have a lot of correlations with ME/M, so ME, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome.
People feeling awful just like months later.
Months later, can't get their energy levels back. To be honest, there's a lot of evidence, obviously I know about this because having fibro anyway, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that fibro and ME and things like that are triggered by stress to the body, or a post-viral or post-infection sort of overactive immune response. And it seems like COVID is a real trigger for causing a similar thing, which basically means you might quite well have lifelong detrimental effects if you get this. And that's people who are young, fit, healthy. We know of somebody who was cycling miles every day to and from work who got it and is still poorly with it. We know of somebody else who was in, like, and this is scary because he actually had a slight cough started on the Saturday morning. By Tuesday, he was in intensive care. And he was in intensive care for like 3 weeks, and part of that was in an induced coma. And he's a trained MMA fighter, so he is fit and healthy.
Well, that's another of these kind of things that is doing the round on this status, and it's where it's saying, well, you know, sure, there's a small chance that I might die, but isn't it worth the risk? You'll probably just feel rubbish for a couple of days, and there is just so much grey area between those two poles. Like, yeah, you might be entirely asymptomatic, and be fine. But you might end up in an induced coma in intensive care. Yeah. You might end up feeling fatigued for
the rest of your life.
Yeah, we just don't know.
And also, even if you are one of the lucky ones and you're totally asymptomatic, you don't even necessarily know who you've passed it on to and what their effects have been. So just wear your fucking mask. And if it's really that much of a trial to you to wear a mask and to wash your hands, then don't go out.
And also because...
just stay the fuck home then.
And there are so many people who do have health conditions that were otherwise have had to shield and things, but are otherwise in a situation of where they were living perfectly kind of normal lives. Yeah. They had their health condition, but they were going about their business, holding down jobs, socialising, having friends, and everything else that you would expect people to do. And then they were in a position where, because they had a health condition, they had to be a bit stricter during lockdown, and they had to shield, and they had to be extra careful. And some of them have been quite lonely and miserable for whatever reason. But now, where they're kind of coming out of lockdown and furlough and things is being taken away, and you get a situation where they can't necessarily afford to just stay at home indoors for the rest of their lives. There isn't the provision for that, but they still don't feel safe, but they've got to go out and do their job.
And I tell you what, you'd feel so much safer if there weren't so many people spouting all this bullshit about it not being that important.
And people going, well, I'm not going to wear a mask, I'm alright, it's just the vulnerable. Well, yeah, look after the vulnerable. I saw a thing within one paragraph, a woman went from going, oh, well, as long as we protect the elderly, we'll be fine, and at the end of the same paragraph she's going, so we don't need to wear masks anymore. You know, just...
Well, that's how you protect the elderly, you dickhead.
And then she's saying, well, it's bad for my complexion, I'm getting spots. And look, if you have proper dermatological conditions, then we're not talking about you, but we're talking about people who are just going, oh, but I don't want to get a bit spotty on my chin. I'd sooner strangers die. Like... That is
what you're saying.
Yeah,
that is essentially what you're saying. When you phrase it
like that, but that is the truth of the matter.
I don't like how my breath all gets in my face and my glasses steam up. So I'd rather strangers die.
I feel a bit hot on the train. I'd rather strangers die.
It is ridiculous, and the level of sort of entitled bullshit that I'm seeing is so disappointing. Because I genuinely, we bitch and moan on here a lot, but I essentially sort of believe that people are good and that people do the right thing.
So naive.
I know, like, this whole thing has made me realise that I don't think the majority of people are good and selfless and sort of club together and, like, sort of do the best for each other. I think they look after themselves and their circle, and everybody else can just get fucked. And that is not a happy place. But yeah, I guess I don't think we've covered any new ground there really, other than Newport being in lockdown. But you know, it's been a while since we've been able to rant at you, but we do have some other stuff to talk about, so we probably should.
People on the internet,
guys.
We're not them.
No, we're not them. We're perfectly reasonable people. But yes, so that's where we are. But we are both back in work, although I've literally just had to cancel all of my week's bookings because they were all not local. Damn them. So yeah, we've actually
bastards.
We had a fairly busy weekend this weekend just gone, which was exciting because it's been quiet, but we're back open.
People of Newport, if you all live in one household,
any household in
Newport, an escape room,
date night with your fella or something. Come on. Please.
I've been there. It is all socially distanced, and there's hand sanitizer everywhere, and there are masks that you can. That Ellie is giving away a mask per player. You know,
I know, very generous.
Gloves,
one
if you
each.
want them.
You don't have to share.
And you can play the escape room, and they're really fun. So if you are local to Newport, now's the time, guys.
Yeah, we've got a lot of slots free.
In your household.
Yes. Do follow the rules. But yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, we've got to be safe about it. So I've had to sort of, anybody who had bookings in, I've had to sort of send them emails and just be like, hey guys, if you're like local and if you live together, then obviously you're still very welcome. But if not, let us know and we'll make other arrangements. And they've every single one of them has come back to me and gone, yeah, we were travelling in from Cardiff, or we were travelling in from Bristol, or we had a hotel booked which we've had to cancel, so they're not even local-ish, so they probably won't come back either. And I was like, yeah, okay, have your money back. It's depressing, but it is what it is, and it's what you've got to do to keep people safe, and that's the thing. You've just got to roll with it. I wouldn't choose this. I'd rather be running games and making money, but you know, I'd also rather there wasn't a pandemic on, but you can't always get what you want.
I've been back in work, by which of course I mean my part-time day job, because live comedy is still very thin on the ground in Wales. It seems to be coming back a bit more in England, up to a point, but with social distancing and restrictions and things, but not really looking to do too much kind of travelling, to be honest, as things stand. So I'd love things to come back a bit more to normal in Wales, although obviously the new restrictions seem to just push that further into the future.
It makes it less likely that there'll be local gigs, but I think technically you'd be allowed to travel to other gigs because you'd be travelling for work, but still you don't know if people are going to want to go to those gigs and if there'll be an audience.
And whether I want to kind of really spend hours on a megabus surrounded by strangers not knowing how responsibly they've behaved.
Yeah, I can't say basically there doesn't have to be some well-paying gigs for me to be entirely comfortable with that.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So
the level of comfort is definitely equates to the level of pay.
Yes, I need to basically be paid more than I usually would be for the work, even though fewer people can attend, and therefore there's less ticket revenue for which to pay comedians. So and all the comedians who haven't been working months are all fighting for these gigs. So it's fun. And then you see on Facebook, people over the border in Bristol seem to be gigging every night, it feels. Yeah. Very jealous. But
bloody Bristolians. Yeah. Rubbing it in our faces.
I'd love to find a way to get live comedy back on in Newport, but I don't know how realistic that is or how soon we can make that work. But I will when I can. I'll try and figure something out. But
it's not all doom and gloom though, is it?
It's not all doom and gloom. Well, I'm back in my day job, I was going to say. And that's been... hasn't it?
It's been a thing.
Yeah, it's people have actually, to be fair, they've had good PPE and social distancing and tried to put new systems in place.
That PPE, because you sent me a picture of you in the full kit, and it really is full kit, and I was like,
thorough.
That looks not much fun to be in for a full shift, because it's like it's the gloves and a mask and a visor and like an apron, and you can't have like long sleeves and all sorts of stuff.
Well, I don't have to wear a tie, so swings and roundabouts.
Hey.
But it's it's a strange one, but it's weird. kind of being back. It was nice to see people for
How
like
has
the
it
first
been,
week, and then I was like, yeah, okay, I could do that again in another 4 months.
Yeah.
But they wanted me to come back the next week and the next week.
What a bunch of dicks.
Yeah.
How has it been using public transport together though? Because that was one of our biggest concerns previously when we were talking on this before you were back in work.
It has been a mixed bag. Like they've kind of marked off different seats so you can't sit down like next to a stranger, which is good.
Always my preference anyway.
Yeah. Generally in the mornings they've been a bit busier, but people have had the masks on. Then in the evenings,
that's also mandatory on public transport now, which
yes.
it wasn't previously, I don't think. But
well, it was. I think they were supposed to be doing it.
Oh yeah, it was early
July
actually. I think that came in.
Excuse me. Public transport was mandatory, except that if people didn't wear a mask, no one was being sort of challenged on it. So I'd come home in the evening sometimes, and the trains would be a bit quieter, but there would just be lots of people not bothering with masks. And like you just go, not all of these people have health conditions. It just can't be bothered. And so and then also just the thing of when you're at the station, there's just loads of people being like funneled down corridors and through turnstiles and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, none of these buildings have been built with social distancing in mind, have they? And there's only so much you can do.
And the thing is, and I don't really blame the train companies for this, because like you say, there's only so much you can do, but also they've kind of got to have like a one-size-fits-all system that's easy to enforce. But that does lead to problems, because, for example, at Cardiff Central, where I get off in the mornings, I'll arrive there maybe just after rush hour, like I've got if I'm on a late shift, and they've got 3 doors along the front of the station that used to be just kind of exit and entrance doors that people would come back and forth through, but now they've dedicated one of them as the exit and 2 as entrances to try and stop people sort of basically passing each other face to face to avoid, maintain social distancing a bit. But the trouble is, when I get there, no one's actually coming into the station. There's lots of people funneling off my train, but it's just rush hour's just gone, so there's not people really aiming to get on a train at this point. So there's loads of people leaving, but you can't break off and go through one of the other doors. They go, no, come on, rules, and it's so
stick with the crowd for social distancing purposes.
Everyone's being funneled through the same door, and you're more close than if you were allowed to use your common sense, which I get why you're not allowed to, but it is.
I do get it, because you can't rely on people to use their common sense, unfortunately. But it is, and also you've got people flagrantly breaking the rules anyway, just going around the one-way system the wrong way because they're taking shortcuts, and you're like, I'm doing the right thing, and you're doing the wrong thing, and nobody gives a shit.
But the worst one was our local Tesco store has been, I think, where I've been the most uncomfortable.
I've not been there since probably July.
Well, because
they were being good to begin with. I remember being a little bit relaxed, more relaxed. I think, it was probably back in April or May, but when I first went there after they insisted on social distancing measures, and I was comforted, because I was like, there's a one-way system, they're only letting a certain number of people in at a time, there's a queuing system outside, all of those things were good, and they were working, and that, according to yourself, they just basically abandoned them all.
They've still got kind of markers on the floor to indicate like 2 meters and things.
Right.
And they've got kind of screens up at the tills, but they seem to have abandoned scrapped the one-way system. They don't seem to have people queuing up outside anymore. I mean, they might have brought that back in now with the tighter restrictions again, but they certainly seem to have abandoned it. And there was a point where on the Friday they'd kind of announced, right, the law's going to be, we're bringing in masks now in Wales. For when you're in a shop, you have to have one. And then you knew it was coming in, but it wasn't actually coming in until the Monday. And that weekend was like insane to me. Like, just people, you go somewhere and people don't have masks on, and it's like, it's more dangerous. It's so dangerous they've brought in this law.
The logic in their heads is, it's not law yet. I'm like, the law is there as a safety thing. It's already an issue.
And it's not like if they were closing the pubs, and they were right, we're closing the pubs. The law changes as of Monday. And it was Friday they said that. I could get people going out on a Saturday or a Sunday. I wouldn't. I think it's irresponsible, and I wouldn't feel safe. But I get people going, they're going to close.
It's my birthday, I want to see people before we can't.
One last booze and catch up with my friends and whatever. I could see the appeal, but I'll have one more go at Tesco's without a mask on before the law changes. I'll have to walk around Tesco's in a mask. Oh, one more
One more
barefaced Tesco run for the lols. Like, I just, I don't get it. And I was in the Tesco's on the Sunday, and people,
that's our title. Barefaced Tesco run for the lol.
just so, just it was so crowded in there,
Yeah.
and people, no one had masks on. I was literally the only person I saw in a mask, apart from the security person on the door.
Yeah.
And
It's
people,
depressing.
never mind social distancing, people weren't bothering about personal space. Do you know what I mean? They're sort of shoving past you, and it's just.
Oh God.
You know.
This you got to keep like hammering it home to people, and people are just getting very like not ambivalent, very sort of fatigued with the whole thing, and just so you need to like ramp up the sort of fear a little bit, and just be like, no, you have to do this. So they are talking about bigger fines for people who don't self-isolate and things like that. But do you know what? We're hopefully back now, so we can discuss some of that a little bit in more depth in future vlogs, because we really should get to some other bits of
More upbeat news.
Yes, more upbeat news. So we should mention really why we haven't been recording these. Now I've been a bit cryptic, I recall, in our last few vlog entries to say that we've got some plans in place that we couldn't really announce. So a couple of things. So the first one.
Is this about the comic books?
Oh no, this isn't about the comic books. Do you want to tell them about the comic books?
Well, I just think that people who have been long-term following the vlog, they'll be hooked
they might
up
be
in
on the edge of their
saga.
seat
They'll
about
be waiting
this.
to go, oh, he's come back. I've been up nights worrying.
This is where we've been. We
This
haven't
is-
been vlogging because we've been spending all of our time
looking for.
looking for Infinity Saga Part 2.
You know, I was collecting the Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novel collection. I couldn't find Infinity Saga Part 2. I was becoming obsessed with it.
Becoming.
And the good news is,
Becoming?
guys, for long-term followers of the vlog, you'll be pleased to know I've got Infinity Saga Part 2.
Haven't you actually got 2 copies of it now?
Yes, let's not. I mean, but don't say that on here in case they try and get it back. They accidentally sent doubles. But
Oh, it's
So-
like buses.
I know, one to keep and one to sell. So
That's not like buses.
no. It's in my book. I steal 2 buses at a time.
One to
I
keep,
kill
one to sell.
kill all the passengers, bury them in shallow graves, and drive around in one bus and sell the other.
That went not where I was expecting.
So I got the comic book. That
Yeah.
if you were worrying about that, but I
Well,
wasn't
it
the
was
only one.
significant though, because he had parts 1, 3, 4, and 5. So
Yeah,
he needed 2.
I needed part 2, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And then in
You can all
a
relax.
slightly underwhelming turn of events, they just kind of updated the Hatchet Park Works website and put on a load of back issues that hadn't been there before, and it was just available again.
Just the people who make it started selling it again.
Yeah, it wasn't. There's not really much of a story.
Yeah,
behind
it
that,
would have been good
but-
if it was some sort of really like cool, like you were in some sort of flea market in Camden and you
Yeah, I had
found
to
it.
meet someone in a car park around the
Yeah.
back of a pub and
But no,
exchange
just
it.
the- The
lockdown,
supplier
drop-off
supplied
point.
it.
But yeah, just sold it from the people who bought it from the people.
But
who
it was
make
very
in
good
the
because
first place.
your sister Heather actually
she found it, so
found
thank you
it.
to Heather
So that
for
was oh, you made a young man very happy.
Indeed. But I'm not the only one who got something new. You treated yourself to something, didn't you?
What did I treat myself to? Oh, I did. Oh, that wasn't the. Oh, well, it was fine. Yeah. Oh, I've got. Oh, look at my lovely little bear. Isn't he cute?
Ah,
Isn't he cute?
what a cute bear. He's sort of like a bear from a Build-A-Bear workshop,
He
isn't
does
he?
look a bit like a Build-A-Bear, actually. He hasn't got a name yet.
Well, it's
but-
not so much the way he looks.
Yeah. So there's something a bit special about this bear. Yeah, I guess I'll just. Should I just show them?
Yes.
All right. So yeah. Don't know if you can hear that. Bit weird, you might think. You might think, well, that's odd. Some sort of galloping horse bear.
Something eating.
But yeah, that noise, some of you might know, because some of you will recognise it, but some of you might not. That is the noise of a baby's heartbeat. Because
What? But why would you want the sound of a baby's heartbeat in a bear?
it's not a random
What?
baby.
Which baby is this?
It's our baby.
Our baby?
Yeah.
But we don't have a baby. I
Not-
would have noticed it around the house. I would have heard it crying.
Yeah, not yet.
I'm a
We
deep
don't.
sleeper, but not that deep. Please explain in
Yeah.
greater detail.
Yeah. So I think most people will probably have cottoned on.
Well, I'm still at a loss.
But yeah, I am pregnant.
What? And this is how you choose to tell me?
Yeah, good and pregnant I am, guys. So that's why I haven't been able to talk to you honestly. And basically, I am incapable, really, of being in any realistic way dishonest. And if I also have a big thing that's important, I'm also fairly incapable of not talking about it.
Yeah.
So, two main reasons why we haven't been vlogging. One, I've been sick as a fucking dog. I've been so rough, guys.
In a way that would be difficult to hide.
Oh, God.
Just in terms of actually having to do the vlog would have been a challenge.
Yeah.
But also, Ellie normally puts quite a lot of research,
Time and effort into reading shit.
Yeah, for a daily vlog, we're putting quite a lot of effort into keeping up with the news and reading things, and so that we can then talk about them on the vlog. And just feel when you're feeling sick and ill,
God.
and it just wasn't on the cards doing any sort of research. So
that's been the main reason why we haven't vlogged, because I just haven't been physically capable. And on the ones that we have done, I've been like really trying to keep it together, but it's been difficult because I've been pretty poorly with just bog standard sort of feeling sick, mainly feeling sick, but just loads of unfun symptoms. It's a magical time, guys. But also
there's a cat.
there's a cat by our feet. Oh, it's doing a weird thing again. I don't know if it happens when we touch the desk. Maybe I don't. Sorry. So yeah, like I've just not been capable of sort of sitting and chatting and doing the reading, and I've just not been well. But also, I wouldn't be able to sort of. I've got no poker face. Like, I wouldn't be able to sort of skirt around, because I feel like I'm lying. I hate that you kind of have to not tell people until you're far enough along. But I'm 12 weeks tomorrow, but by the time this comes out, 12 weeks today. And we've had 2 scans because I'm also an anxious person. So I like the reassurance. We had one to sort of find out exactly how far along we were at around about, well, what turns out was 6 weeks 1 day. And we had another one at 10 weeks 4 days, which told us sort of how far along we are. We are due on the 6th of April 2021. Yeah, so that's what's been going on there. I, by the way, am still rough as 10 bears. I'm not well at all, but holding it together. I'm also really spotty and quite gross.
But I felt a bit. We felt a bit bad because we kind of said we were. No, sorry, I didn't mean that. I had a different train of thought going on. I don't think you're gross or spotty. I think you're lovely.
I am spotty. I am quite gross.
I think you're adorable.
But that's fine. I love you too.
Yeah, because we sort of said, oh, you know, we're not going to do these daily
gone
anymore.
Out of focus for some reason. Sorry.
We should have said we're not going to. There's a cat just being so adorable because she wants food, and I might just let her be adorable. Well, look at her. She's
she is being very cutchy.
Trying to leap up on my lap almost. But anyway, we were.
I tell you what, I'm going to pause this anyway because we'll feed the cat because it's also gone out of focus and I don't know why. Sorry. Yes. So. So yeah, so that's why we've been quiet, and I haven't been able to sort of say, because the rule of thumb, we've told a few like close friends and family, but the general rule of thumb is don't sort of spread the word, and I didn't really want to tell the entire internet that I was expecting a baby if that then did not happen and I had to go through anything grim, because that's not a conversation you want to have with essentially strangers.
Or acquaintances.
So kind of had to wait for the 12-week mark. But I wouldn't really have been very capable of doing a lot of vlogging in that time anyway.
But we felt a bit bad. That was the point I was trying to make before we paused, because we kind of said, right, we're not gonna, now we're both getting back to work, we're not gonna do them every single day anymore. But I think we were thinking of trying to do them like at least twice a week.
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a week ideally.
We just dropped off completely off the face of the earth, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we sort of said we're going to keep these up, and then they've gone away, and we realised we got subscribers that kind of, and people who enjoyed the show and gave us so much positive feedback. And
is this a show?
Well, I don't know. Is it?
I don't know.
But the vlog, and and we didn't.
We felt bad, guys.
We
We
didn't
left you
wanna
hanging.
Yeah,
And we knew that we were leaving you hanging, and we didn't want to. But at the same time, it was quite difficult to sort of explain why we were.
And also because we hadn't, it wasn't like a thing that had a proper ending. Like if you
No.
could go like, oh, this is the end of season 1, and we might be back in the future and done like an end. But it's nice to, rather than go, hey, we'll be back soon, and then just never return. It feels
Yeah.
a bit sad.
Yeah.
So, but we have been, and we haven't. Even though we haven't been able to vlog as regularly as we'd like, we have been doing some vlogs, haven't we?
Yes, I think we've only actually managed about 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of separately, and it will be in a separate playlist, but on the
It'll
same
be on
channel.
this channel, on this feed.
Because we do realise that some people, baby shizzle is not your jam, for various reasons. Some people just don't really want to sort of be listening to people talk about pregnancy and babies, and that's cool, that's fine. So we've created our own separate, well, we haven't actually created yet, but there is going to be, we've filmed them, a separate playlist for baby related vlog. Which is just going to be sort of essentially us bumbling through working out what the hell we do. But we're very happy about it. It's very happy news. We weren't sort of in full on trying for baby mode, but we were also sort of very much sort of going, well, let's not do anything to inhibit this, is basically the best way I can put that. But we didn't really expect to quite so instantaneously have some results from that. So, well done you.
I'm very excited because I'm looking forward to winning a lot more arguments on the internet now.
Why do you win more arguments on the internet?
Oh, well, I suppose you're not worried about vulnerable people like my pregnant girlfriend. Thank you very much.
Oh, I am looking forward to being able to use that to get people to stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
But like, oh, if you'll excuse me, I'm pregnant. Stay on 2 meters, please.
Stay the fuck away from me and my child.
I am not looking forward. Hopefully, because of pandemic, I won't have strangers trying to touch my belly.
And eventually,
Fingers
people
crossed.
are like, well, I don't think we need to wear masks anymore. And you can be like, well, when you're a mother yourself, you'll understand.
Speaking as
Just
a
do
mother.
that, yeah. Do that bullshit.
Oh, we're going to be insufferable. I look forward to that. That's going to be fun. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a ride. So if you want to sort of know more about that side of things, then head over. We'll start releasing them over the next few days. Don't actually know what we're going to call that vlog, but basically it'll be on the same channel. It'll be clear what it's part of, and you can watch them separately. So yeah, so like the sort of main pregnancy related stuff will be there. But yeah, big news, guys. Also some other big news that we sorted out today, and then we should really head off actually, because we've been waffling along for a while. But because of baby coming along and me being remarkably traditional, who knew? Decided, because of COVID being so up in the air and starting to sort of try and think about like wedding planning, but then just realizing literally any plans that get made get changed, and like it was kind of the realization that we weren't going to be able to do it the way we would want to do it. And then that was just making us feel a bit sad and a bit sort of like everything's going to feel like a compromise and it's not going to be the day we wanted. So then we're kind of like, well, we'll put off the actual wedding, we'll do a big old shindig, but much further down the line, sort of when COVID is more settled, fingers crossed. But then baby sort of changed my feelings on that, because I just kind of wanted to already be your wife when I have your baby. So today we went to the registry office, and we're not actually married yet, because you can't just go and get married, but we stated our intent to wed.
Yes.
Signed papers and all sorts of stuff.
We're going to have a COVID
registry
office wedding with
it's
masks on.
Masks on, and literally it's going to be us two and our parents.
And that's it.
And that's
then
it.
We probably can't even book a table anywhere for food
No, I don't know what we're
afterwards.
going to be able to do afterwards, because you can't
have
mix
people
households.
back to our place. We can't book
Nope,
a thing.
a little October garden party.
So yeah, that'll be interesting.
So yeah, we'll have to actually. So we've stated our intent. So from the 20th of October, because you have to sort of, after you state your intent, you've got 28 days before you're legally allowed to actually get married. So from the 20th of October onwards, we're allowed to, and actually, surprisingly, the registry office does have appointments that week. So tomorrow we're ringing them up to find out and setting our date.
Yes.
So that's happening.
So, and at some point in the future, we will have a proper we'll have a stag do and a hen do and all
Yeah,
those
we will.
things.
I'm still very much going to
And
do
we're going to
all
have a
of
big
those
thing with
things.
all the family there, but at a future time when you can book things without fear of losing deposits,
and
maybe at a
do
future
things
time,
the way we want to do things.
and at a future time when we've got some money, frankly, because yes,
I don't think that's going to be quite all that thick on the ground because there's going to be a toddler.
Yeah, and we got. I mean, when we talked before, where we've got the coffee account that we kind of set up when Poppet broke her leg.
You want to get generous with
we've
that.
Talked about how like we spend that on cat food and things. Like we don't spend that on like video games and comic books and teddy bears. That's all been on cat food or maybe dog food and things.
Groceries essentially, but
but for the pets, that the fund has been after we covered the vet bills. And some of that might switch over from cats to baby food. Who knows? I mean, we'll keep feeding the cats. Don't get us wrong. But so if you want to donate, why not?
ko-fi/Chris Ellie, guys.
Because we can't have a baby shower where all our friends come around and give us presents. So
due in April. So fingers crossed, things will be calming. Like maybe we get winter out of the way when things I suspect will be grim, but maybe as the weather turns a bit nicer we'll be able to sort of do things a little bit more. One thing that I'm optimistic about is that currently, even with sort of harsher restrictions, they have sort of realised that sort of not having partners at sort of ultrasounds or at the births has been a bit detrimental, so they are, if at all possible, keeping that in. Because my main thing that I'm now, which I couldn't say earlier, freaking out about is the idea of, oh dear God, what if I have to, what if Chris isn't allowed at the birth and I have to do it on my own? Like, that's my main fear right now.
And there's classes people go to, aren't there, that would normally be a thing, and we don't know what's. And like my friend, I should say, not that.
Ellie I haven't met them.
Yes, Ellie. There's not a beef, but Ellie.
Just your friend. I don't
was
like
my friend, who Ellie speaks very cruelly about. No, my friend Morgan, who Ellie has not met, but she had a baby, kind of during the peak of the whole lockdown thing, and she was like, "Look, if you want to come round and just practice babying. Practice having a baby around and and I'll talk you through what it was like and kind of give you
they offered
tips.
That. We're not allowed to do that now.
No, literally, and I was like, oh, thank you, that'd be lovely. You'd love to come around and do that. We literally can't do that now, can we?
No. So, well, hopefully we will be able to before baby comes.
So it's everything's up in the air, isn't it? That's the thing,
well, this is the thing. It is a train you cannot stop. So baby is coming, whatever happens with COVID. So again, it's just very much we just got to roll with it.
Another thing,
but we're very happy about it.
Yes, we're very happy to be getting married, and we're very happy to be having a baby. That's gonna be wonderful.
Just isn't all quite how I imagined it being necessarily, but hey, it's all good.
Wouldn't want to do it with anyone else, so that's the main thing, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Another thing which I want to mention before we wrap up is I realise we've starved you of vlog content, and I can only apologise for that, but I have. In the absence of live gigs, I have been trying to make.
You've been productive.
I've been trying to make more videos and things and different stuff over on my own YouTube channel, which is separate to this one. And I know that there are already some people that subscribe to both. But if you wanted to go and check out some of that stuff, you can just find it by searching my name, Chris Chopping, and it'll come up.
We will put the link in the blurb as well.
Thank you. And there's
loads on there now.
Well, excuse me. There's some old stand-up clips that were recorded pre-lockdown that are on there, but also sort of couple of sketches and opinion pieces and kind of funny rants and lists and all sorts of different stuff. I'm just kind of I've been watching a lot of YouTube as well and just kind of getting to grips with it and seeing what I can do and mucking about and learning to edit. But I think it's fun and hopefully you might want to check out some of that and like some of it and subscribe to the channel. That'd be great. Do. It's me that you like from this, so go and like me over there as well. Unless you're only here because you like her and you tolerate me.
Well,
but
if you're only here because I am in some of it, but also do me a props and still watch it for him. Yeah, if you're only here for me.
do like and subscribe. She'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I would. I guess we should probably we've talked quite a lot today, so we should probably wind that up. But fingers crossed, I'm going to start feeling a little bit better because I'm now in the magical second trimester. Second trimester. So hopefully I'll start to feel a little bit better. Today has been good. I've felt okay. And we'll try and get blogging a bit more regularly, and I guess we'll have quite a lot to talk about. So we will be back. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you so much for persevering and waiting for us, and I hope you've enjoyed us being back and enjoyed our news. We're pretty happy about it. Oh, it's all happening.
Trek and Trimester, guys. There's no shame in it.
Bye.
Bye.